Hello, my name is Michael and today we're going to have a video regarding the Large Hadron Collider and what it means, especially nowadays when you're hearing a lot about the Mandela Effect and CERN, and there's a lot of tension and worry. But one thing I keep saying, or you hear me say all the time, is that you're not in charge. God is in charge. And God allows the wicked to flourish until He's ready to stop it. And that's why He said He had the wheat and the darnel grow together, so that if you take up the darnel, you might end up taking up the wheat by accident. So He let them both grow. And that's in one of my other videos. But today, we're going to talk about what the Large Hadron Collider looks like. And it's pretty alarming. So, here's a picture of the Large Hadron Collider. We have the smaller section and we have the larger section. Of course, there's other images which, like this, has all the other little things going on down here, but that's the big one. This is the way it is in this picture, but we're going to use it in this direction because, again, you're looking from above, whether you're looking at it from that direction or this direction, doesn't really matter. Here is another picture, and the Large Hadron Collider is not above ground, it is below ground. And again, these are the two pictures. Okay, now I'm going to look at one other thing. When you look at CERN, this is their logo. And yes, we know that you see the 3 6s in here. That's fine. Very common. And a lot of people think that the weeds are conspiring. And they have this big plan and all these secret societies and all that. And so they're really not conspiring. These people, can you really think of people, let's say, people that would run big power, can you really get like a bunch of them in a room and that they can actually listen to each other or have one guy ruling over them? With gigantic egos, you really just don't have it. But weeds are going to fulfill their destiny. So if you have a bunch of weeds together, they're all going to look like they're conspiring weeds, but really they're just weeds. Weeds can't conspire. Sorry. So 666 you find in here. If you look at the number 6, that's the number 6. And then there's another thing too. If you look at this is the closest evil can get to the number 8. Now you've seen other videos of mine where when you have the head, then you have the body. Okay? When you're looking at the head and the body, the goal, not conscious, because this is not something that can happen consciously, is that an 8 forms. And that is where the mind and the spirit through the body are unified. Mess this up. Yeah. This 8 is supposed to happen in our bodies. For some reason, some of the CERN people or Mandela people are scared of 8. Of course you're scared of 8 because you don't understand 8. But if you really look at it, this is the closest they're going to come to 8. This don't look like an 8. The whole idea of the Large Hadron Collider is that the particles are going to go in opposite directions. They're going to be whacking into each other. And they're going to try and go back to the beginning of creation. Okay. Now, here's something odd. This very image is the exact image that you're going to see in my other videos. There's that guy. there's the same image. This is the image of the anal phase of stages of the development of a child. When we're at 1.5 to 3 years of age, if the child does not get proper development, they become a pressure cooker, and energy goes inward. Another place you'll find this in other videos of mine. There's that guy again, the same picture. This person gets a lot of tension from the psychopath. This creates a bonding effect where this has got no head and this one has no body, or sacrificing its body for another body. So this represents a head that never came out. It is not by accident that these look alike. The time between 1.5 and 3 is when this distortion is formed inside the person. At 3 is when the child, if it does not connect to the torso, or where the spirit is inside of God, then it's going to go to head. So if this tension, which you're going to see another one of my video, this tension is 1.5 and 3, okay, you could call this Large Hadron Collider, whatever. When too much pressure is added to this, you're going to get this. You're going to get this. This would be now 3 to 5. Instead of tying into the body, it's ejected out. So what's happening at LHC that might eject out? Huh? Little face over there? What's that face? I have this in other images as well that I talk about what's happening with the body at that point. This happens to be with when this gets too much pressure, it ejects. Now here's the kicker. This is not the 1.5 to 3 stage. This is actually the 3 to 5 stage. And we know that the darnel is a counterfeit of God. So, is the number 3 important? Look at that. Well, let's see what the Bible says. Matthew 16:21. I don't know if you can read it that good, but I got it here. From that time began Jesus to show his disciples that it is necessary for him to go away from Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and chief priests and scribes, to be put to death, and the third day to rise. Matthew 17:23. And they shall kill him, and the third day he shall rise. 3. Third day. Okay? This distortion parallels the 3 to 5 in the pregenital stage, when the child is supposed to tie into the spirit. And the funny thing is that 3 to 5 is pregenital. The 3 to 5 is the introduction for the child to connect its head with, in truth, with their spirit, or under pressure, it ties into the law or the head. So if the child does not connect here, then it goes to the head. And in the head is lies and terror. And another picture. This is the same damage at 3. Look at this. Lies, fear, thinks it's the I am, and control. Control. These are a lot of attributes these big-headed people do, because they never tie to the creativity between 3 and 5. And that's when you're supposed to draw for the opposite sex parent. Okay. I know this seems like it's a little bit far off, but really it's not. Because how convenient that the Bible talks about the rising of God, the rising of God's Spirit at the same time, at 3. Why 3? And look at the numbers. If you look at 3, is it too hard to make that 3 and 8? I mean, really? Look at that. That's a 3. Okay? But what these guys do is when they go 3 to 5, they cannot create the 3. I mean, they cannot create the 8 because the head was jettisoned out. They're going to get a 6. See that? Doesn't this look like a 6? Huh? That doesn't look like a 6? Okay. You can believe what you want. Matthew 20:19, and they shall condemn him to death, and shall deliver him up to nations to mock, and scourge, and crucify. And the 3rd day he will rise. For he was teaching the disciples, and he said to them, the Son is being delivered to the hands of men, and they shall kill him. And having killed him, the 3rd day shall rise. And they shall mock him, scourge him, spit on him, kill him, and the 3rd day he shall rise. I was reading Matthew 20:19. Mark 9:31, and now Mark 10:34, Luke 24:7, saying, It behoveth the Son of Man to be delivered up to the hands of sinful men, and to be crucified, and the 3rd day to rise. Luke 24:46, and he said to them, Thus it hath been written, and it was behoveth the Christ to suffer, and to rise out of the dead on the 3rd day. And can we tie the 3rd day to now? Of course we can, because we can look in Galatians 4, and it's what happens in our hearts. And also, look at this, 2 Peter 3:8. And this one thing let it not be unobserved by you, beloved, that one day with the Lord is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day. The Lord is not slow in regard to the promise, as certain count slowness, but is long-suffering to us, not counseling any to be lost, but all to pass on to reformation. And it will come the day of the Lord as a thief in the night, in which the heavens with rushing noise will pass away, and the elements with a burning heat be dissolved, and the earth, the works in it, shall be burnt up. That's now. The 3rd day. A day with the Lord is 1,000 years, 3,000. Psalm 94, For 1,000 years in thine eyes are as yesterday, for it passeth on, yea, a watch by night. Okay. So, like our days can be counted as years, and years can be counted, a day can be counted as 1,000 years. Hey, we're not making this up. This is what the Large Hadron Collider looks like. And for this to operate, it works with tremendous pressure. If you look at my other videos, which were made at the time when I had no idea about connecting the Large Hadron Collider to this, you will see, like double-blind experiment almost, that I draw this image all the time for that guy. And this guy happens between a year and a half and 3, and that falls right in the time where, a day with the Lord is 1,000 years. Even if you call this guy 2 years old, this is where the damage is. With constant pressure, again, with constant pressure, and that's exactly how this operates. Like I said, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get an ejection out. And in my other videos, you'll find this is also reminiscent of the MGTOW male. And MGTOW male leaves the body, ejects itself into the manosphere, and then becomes part of a male collective. So this is really ominous, how this works. And there's one more thing too. If you remember when Jesus was talking about the sign given, which I did in one of my other videos, where in the sign given, in fact, let me look if I got my notes here for that. I don't throw away my notes too often. Where the sign is given regarding Jonah, that he was in the whale of the belly for 3 days. In fact, let me read it to you, and then it'll make more sense. Okay, so just bear with me just a little bit. Okay, Matthew 16:4, generation evil and adulterous doth seek a sign, and the sign shall not be given to it except for Jonah the prophet, and having left them he went away. Matthew 12:40, for as Jonah. Okay, here goes. Matthew 12:40. I should have printed this out, but we don't do everything correct here. For as Jonah was in the belly. For as Jonah was in the belly. This is Matthew 12:40. Of the fish for 3 days and 3 nights, so shall the Son of Man be in the heart of the earth 3 days and 3 nights. And men unto Nineveh shall stand up in the judgment with this generation, and shall condemn it, for they are reformed at the proclamation of Jonah, and lo, greater than Jonah is here. So, what's coming out of here? I don't know. But as far as I'm concerned, whatever it is, it's going to change a whole lot of stuff. Now, the earth can also represent your torso. Okay? And remember, there were 2 sons born. There was Jacob and Esau. They were born at the same time. So whatever happens, we know that God has this all under control, because it is not accidental that the 3rd day, the number 3, kind of looks like an 8. It's like half an 8. A lot of people are scared of eternity. If you look at the CERN underground, it looks like an 8 with the head pushed in. You see, this is trying to go out. If you look right here, it kind of looks like they're crossing, and I think there's other pictures where you see the CERN, even the big CERN logos says like the 8 is trying to form. You see how it's trying to form? They're not going to get an 8. They're not going to get the infinity that they want. Here's another picture, and you see the CERN, the lines are crossing each other. So it almost looks like they're trying to pop this head up. Because remember, let us make man in our image. And God has a very same pattern, and he follows this pattern through all of creation. Because God does things on a very simple basis. You just can't understand it because it's spiritual. So what's going to happen with CERN? What if they put too much pressure in here? What happens if they put too much pressure in here and this thing pops out? Or something else pops out of here? What I'm trying to tell you is, when you're in Christ, God gives you peace. And the peace is the proof of God. So the peace is what we should be looking at. Because again, Daniel was tossed into the lion's den, and the mouths were closed. And so when Daniel was in the fire of the furnace, the spark was killing the people that were outside the furnace, but not a hair of his head was hurt. So these things are not here to scare you, but just to let you know that there's a lot going on. And again, with all the same regurgitating or repackaging of all this CERN information that you're hearing, you're kind of like almost saturated. And now you're at a point where you could be watching 50, 60 videos and you're not getting anything because they're all talking about the same thing. Life was like a box of chocolates, is the new identity. Let's say life is a box of chocolates. Well, honestly, we're going from life is probability to purpose. Because remember, all these CERN people, all these scientists and everything, their God is man's will. So for man's will to be God, it can't be the God of purpose. It has to be chaos. I'm going to do another video on chaos. But God is purpose. Man's will is chaos. That's why they must have evolution. I can't spell it, whatever. They got to have evolution. They got to say this was all accidental, because underneath, because underneath the foundation of the will of man is chaos. The foundation for evolution is an accident. So then when they have their man, he represents a collection of error. That's why these are the children of evil. Because the scientist says there is no God. So there is no purpose. So there must be probability. In fact, here's something else that is really, people don't really, have never seen this, but when Jesus was crucified, when he was crucified, listen to this, Matthew 27:35. And having crucified him, they divided his garments, casting a lot, that it might be fulfilled that was spoken by the prophet. They divided my garments to themselves, and over my vesture they cast a lot. What's a lot? Probability. So you see, after you crucify Jesus, those people became part of chaos because they were casting lots. Lots is probability. Throwing dice, flipping coins. I don't know, what do you want to call it? That's why these people must say evolution. That's why the evolution people, when they become, in their mind, man, it's the collection of errors. So, when you're looking at CERN, you're looking at the most expensive machine that man's will had created. This is what CERN is. It's an expensive machine. So this is the epitome of man's devices. And it's funny when you look up the word devices in the Bible, it talks about Saul saying that you're going to be building his devices. And let me just find that. So this way, these things come to us sometimes, and we just got to put them out there. I just can't find it. Yep, can't find it now. But, I'll do another video on it, or maybe I'll include it below. But bottom line is, may God richly bless you. And you know what? They can do whatever they want to. I don't care what they do. Because the bottom line is, if we're going into the fire, or we're going to the lion's den, we can have a conversation with Daniel. And what happened there? Either the mouths of the lions will be closed, or God himself in Christ Jesus will be with us to give us some cool, relaxing water, and not even a hair of our heads will be singed. So don't let this stuff spook you, but you could see that everything is connected together. You could see how they're trying to make their body, they're trying to make their 8. And what are they going to get? They're going to get a 6. Anyway, God bless, be well.